St Bernardus Christmas Ale.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. In keeping with the Christmas theme, I fucking hate Christmas, but in keeping with that theme, I've got another Christmas beer or seasonal beer, whatever you want to call it, and it is the St Bernardus Christmas Ale. Now, I've had this in the fridge for a while. It is from the St Bernardus Brewery, which is based in a place called Vatou, which is in West Flanders. And again, as I say with some of these beers that have got the pictures of the monks on the front, and if you look at that, it's got Ian Duncan Smith in a Christmas hat. And these beers are, they do have some very remote link to Trappist brewing, but they don't qualify as a Trappist brewery anymore. For a while, their beers from the original abbey, I think the original abbey was St Sixtus or something like that, but it was one of the breweries. They're originally from France, and they came to Belgium to sort of set up there, and then they've moved back to France. The beer has since been brewed under license. Originally, they used to sell this beer at the gates of the monastery, and they'd only sell enough just to keep the monastery and themselves going. They wouldn't make a profit from it, and eventually they moved back to France. They've since sold the rights to brew this stuff. I think they sold the recipes as well. They've got a link to Westvleteren, the well-known Flemish brewery, who brew some absolutely amazing and very hard to get hold of Belgian beer. But the head brewer, who I think was a Polish fella, whose name escapes me at the moment, but he helped this lot get off the ground. And originally it was brewed in a cheese factory, and I think since 1992 it's been sort of brewed independently from that. And this has got the monk or the friar on the front, but it hasn't seen the inside of a monastery, believe me. There's no Trappist stamp on the back that you normally get with a Trappist, genuine Trappist breweries. They've got a stamp that they put on the back of these bottles. But I will say, all that negativity, they're not a bad brewery. They do some really good beers. The Vit beer I remembered as being really good. The double and the treble is good. I think I had the quadruple as well. That was like rocket fuel. That was really strong. And this is quite similar, apparently. It's 10%, so it's quite hefty. And that's in keeping with a lot of Belgian Christmas ales or seasonal ales, because this is only brewed around Christmas time. And one thing that they do well is the core range of their beers, and that is, the blonde, the double, the triple, the quad, and the Vit, and the Christmas beer as well. And I think, I could be mistaken here, but I think the Christmas beer is the only one out of that lot that I haven't tried. So this will complete the set. So let's stop gassing. Let's get this open. Right, they're a relatively young brewery. They've been only around since 1946. With all the turmoil from the previous century, they closed, reopened again, etc. It's quite an up and down history. It's quite complicated as well. But it's one of them beers that you'll only get at this time of year. So I'm reviewing this now, just so as I can get this out of the way and say I've tried it. As I said, it's 10%. It's a free 30ml bottle. Thank fuck. I don't know whether I can handle a 500ml bottle of 10% beer. It's quite sweet, I'm assuming it's quite sweet, because the EBUs on this, not the IBUs, the EBUs are only 20. And your average Pilsner, I think in Germany, if you brew anything under 21%, I think it's 21, is it 21 on the EBUs? I think it's, yeah, anything under that, you can't sell that as a Pilsner. And that will just give you an idea of how sweet this is. So they've probably thrown a lot of sugar into this as well. And it's good for 4 years. It's got a 4-year shelf life. So it is bottle conditioned. And I don't know what that would taste like after 4 years, but it'd be pretty interesting. But there you go. As is the case always with this stuff, the writing on the back is very, very small, which doesn't help when you've got eyes like Mr. Magoo. But the ingredients: water, malt, barley, hops and yeast. Interesting. There's the label, and there is the cap. Caps are quite good on these. I do like them. They're full colour and they do go big on the artwork, which is good. It's a nice touch. So let's get it open. Let's see what's going on. Cap is off with no disasters. Let's get it in the glass. Now I'm going to give that an aggressive pour because this head is not going to last long. So the aroma, fucking hell, look at that. Oh, that's super sweet, that is, with big dried fruit and caramel malt. Some aniseed as well. Oh, I'm definitely getting aniseed on that. Interesting. I don't want to hang about too long because this head is going to go, and I want to drink it through the original head. So let's see what this is all about. Cheers. Oh, the ethanol. Oh, that is intense. Wow, that really does warm as it goes down. First thing that hits me, apart from the ethanol, is the aniseed. The aniseed is big in this. Now, if you don't like aniseed in beer, and some people don't, you're not going to like this because it is quite big. Aniseed, caramel, and what I perceive as toffee malt, dried fruit, a lot of figs, dates and raisins, that type of dark fruit, dried dark fruit. The carbonation is quite coarse, but it's very warming as it's going down. And there is a slightly sour ester coming from the yeast. It's very subtle, but it's there. And of course I love sour beers, so that for me is a bonus. And I also like aniseed too, so it's win-win for me here. That carbonation is big and it's bordering on obtrusive, so I'm just going to give this a little bit of a swig to calm it down a little bit, because that is okay on the first few mouthfuls, but it does get a bit annoying after a while. Gives that a nice bit of a head as well, so there's going to be more flavours coming through with that carbonation that's risen to the top. Oh, that's so good. There's even a little bit of chocolate malt on that, which is really nice. But I will say this is fucking strong. It really is. It's just really flavour intense. And as a good Christmas beer should be, it's got so much going on with the flavours. You really do have to take your time with this. This is not a gulper. this is one to savour, and I do really like it actually. I really am liking that aniseed and the sour yeasty ester that's on that. It's very subtle, that sourness, but it's there, and it's all the way through. Now again, if you don't like aniseed, if you don't like sour beer, if you don't like ethanol, you're not going to like this beer. So it really is one of them beers that you need to know what you're getting into before you buy it, because you could take one more mouthful out of that and you could say, oh, this is disgusting shit. And the reality is, it's not. It's a lovely beer, but it's got a lot of flavour in there that are very sort of, they're the Marmite of flavours, if you know what I mean. They're flavours that you either like in beer or you don't like in beer. Now, I've seen a lot of people say they don't like aniseed, and that's fair enough. I've seen a hell of a lot of people say they don't like sour beers. I get that as well. Sour beers really are, they're an acquired taste, and it's usually Belgium that do the best sour beers. Germany's got their, the Berliner Weiss and all that, which is quite a weak beer, and it's very, well, it's not really meant to be drunk sour, but the Belgian stuff is, and it's one of them flavours that you either like or you don't. Most people, certainly British palates that I've come across, or certainly British drinkers, don't like that sour flavour that you get from the yeast on certain Belgian beers. I love it. I love all the dry, sour Gurzes or Hoosers, if you want to call them that. But you don't sort of try and persevere with them style of flavours. You either like it or you don't. And it really is. It does divide drinkers' opinions. Oh, it's really nice. The ethanol has calmed down a little bit, and this is slightly chilled, and I'm still getting huge flavours. It's also, I'm getting like a nutty style flavour there now. This is really interesting, and again, it is one of them beers that you get a different flavour with each mouthful. It's because it's so complex. You know, a lot of beers you can sum up with a couple of mouthfuls. This beer is, or these type of beers, these Belgian quadruples and the seasonal beers are so complex. You have to break down the malts in there, the flavours of the malts. You have to, get all the yeasty esters that are in there and the spices that have been added too. So these are, as I say, they call them degustation ales, which basically means, you sip it and you savour it and you appreciate the flavour. Yeah, it's 10%, and that's going to put a lot of people off because, and I've worked this out because a lot of people think, oh yeah, 10%, fucking hell, he's drinking 10% beer, But we're not drinking 10% beer like you would a 4.5% lager. Do you know what I mean? This is one that I wouldn't say you sip because that sounds fucking poncy, but you take mouthfuls and you savour what the beer has got to offer. That's what I do anyway. And you really do get to appreciate the beer when you do that. God, this really is good. It's just got so many flavours. And you have to really concentrate to appreciate everything on there. As a whole, it's really nice. And if you're into analysing beer, you wanna see what's going on flavour-wise with a beer, and that's where, as I say, this is one to be savoured, and just get all them flavours, But I have to say, this is an absolutely fantastic effort from the St Bernardus Brewery. Now, I sometimes do tend to have a bit of a whinge about breweries that put pictures of monks and friars on there, because, as I say, the rule of thumb is if it's got a picture of a monk or a friar, it's got some tenuous link to a monastery years ago, and they're fucking marketing the shit out of that to try and sell the beers. And you know, I always say that the beer should speak for itself, and this really does. This is a really good beer, and it's a shame it's only available at Christmas or in the winter, because it's not really a summer beer, but it really is like a winter warmer. It's got them, the big alcohol and the spices and all that, so it is suited for this time of year. But I could quite happily drink this in a spring or autumn. I don't know about summer. This might be a bit full on for summer, but it's a good one, and I really like it. So what's the verdict on St Bernardus Christmas Ale? That is really good. I really do like this beer. It's got the aniseed that I like in a beer. It's got a slightly sour ester on there as well, again, which is something I like. It's very, very malty, and it's spicy as well, but as the EBU suggests, it's not bitter, it's not dry, it's not harsh. It's very, very nice. Now, as I said, it's probably going to divide opinion. Some people may try this and not like it. I love it. But it's one of them beers where you just need to sip and enjoy, and not fucking neck it and say, right, what's going on? Give us another bottle, or get another beer out. It's not that sort of beer. This is one, for after your Christmas dinner, sitting down in a chair, sipping that, and then just falling asleep and farting in your sleep and annoying all your relations, and blaming it on the dog when everyone moans about you farting. I really like it. That's going to get a 9 out of 10. I like it that much, and I may get one of these or two of these before Christmas is over. I may have to get online and get a couple more of these, because this is really nice, and so far I think this is probably the best Christmas beer I've tasted so far, and there's been some good ones, and I've got a fridge full in there, so this is top of the shop so far. 9 out of 10, recommended. And remember, beer is working class champagne.